Another Florida drag show being investigated by Governor DeSantis.
A drag queen Christmas.
A Christmas drag show making its way through Florida is being investigated by state officials. Drag Queen Christmas 2022 had 2 South Florida stops, Monday night at the Broward Center in Fort Lauderdale and Tuesday night at the James Knight Center in Miami. After Monday's show, state officials releasing a statement. The Department of Business and Professional Regulation is aware of multiple complaints about a sexually explicit performance marketed to children held in Fort Lauderdale on December 26. Exposing children to sexually explicit activity is a crime in Florida, and such action violates the department's licensing standards for operating a business and holding a liquor license. And just before Tuesday's show, this letter from the department. In short, if you allow children to attend the Drag Fans drag show at your facility, you are putting your license.
The administration of Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis has been called out for sending letters to several bars and venues that had planned a holiday that threatened the establishment's liquor licenses. On Wednesday, the state's Department of Business and Professional Regulation sent one of those letters to the Orlando Philharmonic Plaza Foundation. The letter referenced an event organized by the organization that night called a Drag Queen Christmas, featuring noted drag performers Trinity the Tuck, Heidi N Closet, Jasmine Kennedie, Silky Ganache, and Jimbo, along with out pop singer and YouTube personality Todrick Hall. Department of Business and Professional Regulation Secretary Melanie Griffin wrote in the letter, quote, "To avoid action being taken against your liquor licenses, it is your obligation to ensure that minors are prohibited from attending the Drag Fans drag show. If minors are allowed to attend this drag show, the department will take any and all actions available to ensure that you do not pose a threat to minors in the future," end quote. The letter stated that the administration believes the show is sexually explicit. DeSantis and his administration have a significant anti-LGBTQ+ record. The governor signed the state's Don't Say Gay bill into law in March, and his former press secretary openly called LGBTQ+ and their allies groomers. So, we've got friends and anchors at It's Happening Out that were at the show, okay? Mark Moffat and also Cal Gajraj were at this particular show that they're talking about, all right? They sent me videos. They sent me pictures. There was no children in the audience, okay? There was one woman in the front row that the host, that Nina West, went over to say hello to. She had a medical condition that makes her look smaller than she is and younger than she is. The woman was 35 years old. Okay. When they went to go talk to this woman, a heckler started screaming, "Kids should not be in here. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah." And all of a sudden security came. When Nina went to go talk, to the 35-year-old and said to the guy, she's 35, by that time he was going crazy, and security took him out. Mind you, there was a bunch of Proud Boys at the out front with dark black and white masks scaring people.
Right.
Okay, and that's
hiding
okay.
Their faces.
And that's okay. There were no children there. And again, if there are children there, it's up to the parent to decide if you're going to take your child there or not.
I also want to point out that I want someone to actually sue Ron DeSantis and display the entire recording of this drag show and show me which part of it is sexually explicit. Because what a drag show is not explicitly sexual. Maybe it contains raunchy language. It contains maybe language that are not suitable exactly for minors. But there's nothing there that's supposedly sexually explicit.
They sang Christmas songs, Bobby.
Exactly.
In drag.
So the question is, if Ron DeSantis administration contend that all drag shows are sexually explicit, then we must challenge that administration to show us what is sexually explicit, because then we can bring this out in the open, say that, this is not sexually explicit. None of this is sexually explicit. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are...
You can go to any concert where anybody curses from stage and there's a bunch of little kids there, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing being showed sexually explicitly on that stage. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody might drop an F-bomb here and there, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. We get to the heart of the gaslighting that's going on. Mm-hmm. If we walk out during the day and I say the sky is green, you're going to go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. The sky is not green." But if I say, using a lot of finance and resource and political power, to say the sky is green 157,000 times, at some point you'll begin to go, "Oh, I can see the green tint in the sky." That is what is going on here. To Bobby's challenge, the reason that hasn't happened is because they can't win. They cannot win this.
So they don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're just going to repeat that the sky is green 106,000 times. Because if they sue our house and try to take the liquor license away because it's sexually explicit, they must prove that.
Exactly.
And even if they can get some idiot Trump judge that was appointed, some district judge to do that, then the appeal will continue and continue into a federal court, into a federal district court, and then ultimately to the Supreme Court. If they want to push this to this degree, that's where it will go. And even with a bit of the disappointment of the 6-3 majority, it is really hard to imagine that the 6 majority of the Supreme Court would say that a drag show, this Christmas drag show, is sexually explicit. And the reason why they won't is because nothing could stand up to the standard of the sky is green definition that a drag show is sexually explicit. Yeah. Language is not sexually explicit. It is defined in a different First Amendment right. You must have a sexual experience. And even Hooters doesn't meet that standard. No. That's as sexually explicit with your clothes on as you can get in what they do with women. Yeah. And Hooters' liquor license is not in any danger for what they do for being sexually explicit. They aren't going to do this. So we're reporting the story not because of the accuracy of there are no children present, but because it doesn't matter anyway. We're reporting the story to show what this fascist governor is doing.
The gaslighting.
The gaslighting of threat.
And it's working though. How? Because there's an 80-year-old person in Kendall, an 80-year-old lady, Cuban lady, that is seeing these things going, look, they're doing that again, and not knowing the premise, not knowing anything that has to do with the facts, but believing it and then voting that way.
So only watching certain news.
So let's call it out. Governor DeSantis, please sue Broward Performing Arts Center. Please do that. I agree with you. You have the right to do that. So sue them. And sue the event venue in Miami-Dade County and sue the event venue in Orange County, Orlando. Do that. And sue the producers of Drag Queen Christmas. And while you're at it, sue the drag queens too. And while you're at it, sue all of the people that bought the tickets. And while you're at it, take the children away from the parents that brought them if they were present. Do all of that, please, because we're going to meet you in court and you're going to be destroyed. That's what's going on here.
Thank God for the court system, really, in that, because this does kind of go to your 157 times saying the sky is green when it's not. For how long have us, either drag queens or gay people, been termed sexually explicit? Our very existence is sexually explicit somehow in their brains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just point the finger and make us the enemy for political gain.
Exactly. It's the culture war issue. The one thing before, Amy, we move on to you, the one thing that I wish was happening, this happened all over the holidays, the one thing that I wish was happening is some of the most famous drag queens in the world, I think, should come out swinging about what is going on. Not from a standpoint of ridiculousness, but from a standpoint of reasonableness. And talk about gaslighting, and talk about culture war, and talk about why this legally does not make sense and should not, because we need those voices to help add to an attorney's voice and to a journalist's voice that goes, the sky is not green. Right. And I hope our drag community locally and nationally comes out to help support that voice.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+ community.